Okay, I think we can start now.
Okay, I'm going to start recording. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending the workshop. My name is Soleil, and today we are joined by Abril from MORPH, and I will let you take the floor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abril, and I think we've done 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago a high-level overview on MORPH. So this week, I'm going to walk you guys through our technical overview, more like how MORPH is built behind the scenes. And so, yeah, let's get started. I'm excited for this workshop as well. So the agenda for today is we're going to go through the team as well as just me today. But what is MORPH, an overview, like high level, technical side, our sequencer, the centralized sequencer network, batching and submission contract, responsibility to proof, and optimistic CKVM. And then I'm going to show you a little bit how you can get started deploying your contract. So, as I said, I'm a real developer relations engineer at MORPH. And basically what we are doing, we are a scaling layer 2 EVM solution that basically we integrate a couple of things, like we work with modular, we work with decentralized sequencers, with optimistic rollups and CK rollups. But our focus is consumer. So we're trying our best to integrate as much consumer apps as possible. So it can be from NFT ticketing platforms or SocialFi or educational on-chain platforms, stuff that you can use the blockchain for everyday use. And this is our technical side, as I mentioned. We are basically right now having optimistic rollups, and these rollups meet CK rollups as well. So it's more, I will try to explain it more specific in a little bit, but this is actually really unique because we are basically having the best of both worlds. And then we are the only L2 that is integrating the centralized sequencers. And we have modular, of course. So this is our current state of our testnet. We released Sepolia testnet in January. Right now, we've just moved this month to Holsky. And so we have this total of transactions, wallet addresses. We already have 7 decentralized sequencers running on our testnet. And we just introduced the Optimistic Secret Rollup Challenge, so pretty exciting. So let's talk about the centralized sequencer and what it is. Basically, sequencers are responsible for processing new blocks in the L2 blockchains. Basically, as you will see here, is like a kind of like a chaotic diagram, but let's walk through that. A sequencer set is basically a group of participants who have a special job, which is basically produce and confirm new blocks of transactions. Think of like a block, like a page in a ledger book, but for digital transactions. To join this group, participants need to put down some ETH as kind of like promise, and this is done through a staking contract, which is this one that you're seeing here. Then they go through an election to become a sequencer, and this is a way to make sure that only serious and committed participants get to do the job. And so once they're part of the sequencer set, their main task is basically take transactions that it haven't been confirmed yet and put them into blocks. And then they work together to check and agree that everything in those blocks is basically correct. And they use this method called Tendermint consensus. I don't know if someone heard about this, but for this agreement is very important. And it's basically a straightforward way for all sequencers to make sure that they're all seeing the same transactions in the same order. So it helps keep the network secure and running more smoothly. And so after they agree on the transactions, these are then, I would say, officially recorded onto the blockchain. And this process helps the network handle a lot of transactions more quickly. So this is all, the whole process behind the scenes is pretty interesting how everything works behind this. And then we have the layer 2 blocks generation. So this is basically following the BFT consensus protocol. The selected sequencer extracts transactions from the mempool. It constructs the blocks and synchronizes these blocks basically with other sequencers to undergo verification and voting. And basically the end result of this is the generation of these new layer 2 blocks, as you will see here. This is a couple of steps. And so this is basically blockchain networks that manage the process of the transactions. So this basically involves a smart technique called batching, using something known as a batch submitter. And normally, basically, each block of transactions will be sent to the main blockchain layer 1, which is basically Ethereum in this case, one at a time. And so these can be slow and expensive, and to solve these, sequencers are those special participants that we talk about. They use like a special technique. Basically, they group several blocks of transactions together into what we call a batch. And so at certain points in time, these checkpoints, the sequencers take all these blocks they've gathered and sign them off together using a digital signature. And so the signature is basically a way to ensure that all the transactions in the batch are valid and agreed upon. And this is like, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but it's a signature called BLS signatures for this purpose. And so once this batch is signed, it's not sent to just any part of the blockchain. It goes to a special part of the main blockchain of the layer 1 through something known as a roll-up smart contract. And this is basically like a gatekeeper that checks and processes these batches. But yeah, the layer 1 contract, upon receiving this, checks the submitted signature to make sure that it matches all the transactions. So I will say this batching process actually ensures that the network remains efficient and scalable. So it accommodates more transactions without being super slow. And yeah, it has a lot of different benefits behind this. We do not only have the decentralized sequencers that I do explain, but our last piece and most important is our optimistic CKVM and our responsive validity proof. So usually L2s has two main methods that have been used, like fraud proofs and validity proofs. And each one has their benefits, but also limitations. And here's where MORPH actually introduced this method called responsibility proof. And we take basically a unique approach by combining the best of this, both rollups. And so normally generating these high security checks or CK proofs for every transactions, is very demanding. It's very slow. So it only generates this proof if there's a challenge to the validity of a transaction. So with MORPH, what you can do is anyone can run a validator node, meaning basically anyone can help verify these transactions. However, during these early stages, only selected validators can challenge the transactions. And this is basically to ensure that the system runs smoothly and better. But basically, the beauty of all of this and what I feel passionate about is that MORPH approach maintains the high security without bogging down the system with heavy computations all the time. And it's like having a security system that's always on alert, but only goes into alert mode when there's a potential issue. So basically, I would say this makes all the chain behind this very scalable and faster. So this is the process of the state verification. This is another chaotic diagram, but the process is basically based on validators that will need to constantly verify the transactions and new state sequencers submitted to layer 1. And then if they find these transactions and the states are not correct, they will initiate the challenge. And basically, sequencers need to answer the challenge by providing this CK proof and pass verification. So if the sequencer can finish the verification process during a certain period, their fraud behavior is settled. So in a nutshell, validators will need to stake in order to initiate a challenge. So this was like a general approach of our all of our contracts and how everything works behind. And this is our current state and our roadmap. So as I've mentioned before, we launched testnet Sepolia with our optimistic CKVM and the centralized sequencers in Q1 in January. And now we've migrated to Holsky with the Denkron upgrade, the blobs basically, and the CKVM upgrade with a bunch of new technical integrations. And so we expect also launch mainnet by July or August, end of July or August. And we will integrate MORPH staking, which I cannot mention anything about that right now, but we will definitely have a different workshop for that once we launch mainnet. And then we are also trying to focus a lot on decentralized AI protocols. As I mentioned, we want to integrate consumer apps, but also I will say the ecosystem in AI is pretty early, and this is a great opportunity for a chain like us to integrate them. And so we are going to have an AI ecosystem support. And then for the end of the year, we're going to have a lot of updates in mainnet, such as account abstraction native and layer 3 support and a bunch of other things that we're exploring, and we're working really hard with the DevRel team as well to build resources